Hi guys, how you doing? Welcome to Digital Photography. I'm Michael Maldonado. I'll be your instructor for the next few weeks. And I just kind of want to introduce you to the class, introduce you to myself, and kind of take a look around week one. So here we are in week one, and welcome to Digital Photography. What's going on? What are we going to learn? It's a great class. It's a great hobby, and it's just a wonderful way to have a way to express yourself and to capture the moments that are important to you. So, and to do so in a way that you can preserve those moments forever, really. It's more than point and shoot. It's more than shooting with your phone. It's learning how to use your camera. And eventually maybe even getting to the point where you can shoot your own subjects for your design work. So that's really important. And that's one of the practical outcomes, I think, of the class. So what are we doing in this class? First of all, I think that the way to introduce to a camera is to say, hey, okay, what works? How do we work? I've got my camera right here. I'm just going to show you a couple of things. I've got the lens cap on, but basically, how does a camera work? I mean, it only has a couple of things that make it's got a photosensitive material, okay, and it's got a lens, and it reacts with light. So basically, there's only a couple of moving parts. There's what's called a shutter, and there's called an aperture. And the aperture is basically, it's an opening that allows light in, okay? And it opens to different circumferences. The widest it's open is the most light comes in. The smallest it's open, the tiniest light comes in, okay? But then there's something also called shutter speed, and shutter is what opens up, lets the light in that specific size of that circle. The shutter opens up, and how fast the shutter opens and closes in conjunction with the size of that circle depends on what we call exposure. And that is basically how the image looks. How do the lights show up in the image? How do the darks show up in the image? Are the lights too light? Are the darks too dark? Or is there good tonal distribution? I'm saying tonal, T-O-N-A-L. Okay, so those are some of the things, excuse me, that I think we need to take into consideration. Now, the course is real. It's a fantastic course. I've been through the course. It's a wonderful, very comprehensive. You'll come out of this class with a good, solid foundation. There is a lot of work. Okay, let's take a look at week one, for example. So we have week one checklist, which is great. There's a checklist for every week. That's phenomenal. I love it. I'm a checklist guy, so absolutely. So then you have this week one lecture one, camera functions and features. That's going to show you basically in a nutshell what I just paraphrased in just a couple of seconds. It's going to give you some detail, and so is lecture two. Week one student introductions. Let's get in there and introduce ourselves. Week one discussion forum, self-explanatory, guys. I don't think I really have to go through that. Camera survey. What should we look for in the camera survey? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say that if you can, if you can tell what is the camera make and the model, okay, the classification of the camera, the selection feature. Excuse me one second. I was talking about that camera survey, and I'm saying that some of the things that you should look out for. It's not hard. It's not difficult at all. Plus, you have this worksheet. And you have the book too, so that gives you basically a checklist. What this is just, you're going to go through a checklist of your camera, and you're going to take a look at all the features that your camera has. A lot of those features are on these dials right up front here, and others are actually on this moving circle right here. So depending on what kind of camera you have, that depends on where a lot of these settings are located. So keep in mind, you'll have to find out what camera. You may have to do some research online to see where some specific settings are on your particular camera. Really easy. I mean, photography is I believe it's the #1 hobby in the world. #1 or #2 behind gardening. So it's easy to find a lot of information. Okay, so that would be that camera survey. And basically, if you know what camera make and model, what classification is your camera? Is it SLR, DSLR? The features that your camera has. Know the storage format your camera has, select the file formats that your camera can capture, list the quality of settings for image capture, what is the maximum pixel resolution of your camera, and if you have a built-in flash, list the flash modes, and then if you have a zoom lens, what's the range of the zoom? And that's just a couple of things that would be considered like fair game, I guess, in the survey. But you can take a look at that. I mean, it's pretty straightforward stuff. And then each week we have, well, we follow this format every week. This is important because every week for the next 8 weeks, technical information shared in a lecture and readings. Then we'll go to a practical experience or a shooting assignment, and then we'll critique the shooting assignment and talk about the technical information with practice and discussion of that said assignment or the technique covered in that assignment. And then we'll talk and then we have quizzes and or exercises, written exercises to reflect on what we have learned in that particular module. So, and this is no exception here. We have our photo assignment here and our visual critique here. Okay, so I just wanted to introduce that. Now, these should be pretty straightforward. I mean, like I said, I'll be giving a lot of introductions. I'll be going through this, and if I start noticing patterns, guys, I use a lot of videos. I love using videos because I think it's a really, really important way to connect some of the things that in a visual of communication, a mode of communication. I think it makes sense to make visual connections. So I'm a big video guy. So I'll be doing a lot of descriptions and grading via video. So hope you're okay with that. If not, if you would rather have written feedback, please just let me know. I'll be glad to provide that as well. Okay. Really easy to work with, guys. Open door policy. And just so you know, I'm pretty good about getting back to you. You know, you won't be waiting for me. If you shoot me an email or throw a question in the general course questions area, you won't be waiting for me for an answer. I promise you that. Okay. All right. That's what I have for week 1, guys. Pretty straightforward, pretty relatively straightforward stuff. Don't get too caught up on understanding image quality, you know, the way image works with the camera and aperture and shutter speed, things like that. Okay. Because what I want you to do is I want you to read that lecture. Then I want you to read it again. And then maybe read it a 3rd time, because it might take 3 times, but when it kicks in, it's going to kick in, and it has to kick in before we can continue on. This class scaffolds off each of the last processes that we learn, each of the techniques that we learn, so it's really important to learn those and get those solid before we move on. Okay, so any questions, comments, concerns, or other, please feel free to get with me. I'm right here, and I will see you guys in discussion board. Thank you.